Things falling apart for the Rangers, giving up 6 runs. Trent Grisham with the bases clearing double after Gore loads them. They tack on 3 more. Ball game. Rangers lose the series. Defensive problems. Jock Peterson on the Bellinger double. Another pop-up issue with Josh Young losing it in the Sun. New York, you got them in the 8th inning with the Sun as well. With Jazz. And, oh, by the way, Corey Seager reaching in 8 straight. And the red-hot Chicago Cubs. This was the 40-game mark that Jared Sandler and a lot of other Ranger insiders were pointing to. Can they survive the first 40? If they end up 2-3 games under 500 after this first 40, is that surviving it?
Yeah.
Is that what
if you're able to be, I think in terms of, if you clean up the other things, if it wasn't just a schedule thing, you know what I mean? Like, if the back half of this, they start going like, all right, we're facing an easier stretch, and so some of these things are happening. But a lot of that stuff yesterday, Osuna, like, going back first instead of coming in and charging at the ball, that's not I don't care who your opponent is. Like, that's just Osuna not doing what he's supposed to. So how does it happen? Like, why? Like, how is it applied that you get to that point where you're 2 games under 500? The way they played right now, no, it's not surviving because it feels like missed opportunity in a lot of ways. But if they were playing better baseball, just had this record, I'd look at it a little differently. But in a vacuum, yeah, that record doesn't put you in so much of a hole that you can't climb out of it.
Okay, check the standings for me before we get to Dawson versus Sandler 2.0 on how good this looks after the Cubs this weekend. You're going to get 3 at home against Arizona.
Arizona right now is 17-19.
Okay. And in the West, that's good for what?
That is good for your 3rd.
Okay. The armpit.
The armpit currently is 15-23 with a negative 37 run differential.
Now, this is part of a long road trip. So you're going to have 3 in Arlington against Arizona, 3 on the road against the Astros, 3 on the road against Colorado.
Colorado is currently, what are they at? They're 15-23, negative 25 run differential.
3 on the road against the Angels.
Okay, the Angels right now are last in the division, tied with the Astros, 15-23.
Then you get 4 at home against Houston.
15-23.
Then you get 3 at home against Kansas City.
17-21.
Dude, this is a gold mine.
Now, they would also probably look at Texas right now on their schedule and be like, we got 3 against Texas. That's good. They're 17-20 right now.
3 on the road against the Cardinals.
Cardinals are a good team. They're 22-15.
Okay, so St. Louis really...
But a 0 run differential, even though they're +7, which means they've won some close games.
That's your first opponent after like 5 straight 500 or less teams. 3 at home against Cleveland.
Cleveland at the moment is 20-19.
Okay.
Negative 4 run differential.
At Kansas City again, that's good. At Boston. This is consecutively.
Boston's last place, 16-22.
Twins and Padres.
Twins are last place at 16-22. Padres are second in the division, 22-15.
They were second in the division, 22-15?
Yeah, their run differential is barely above 0, though, which means they've won close games.
So San Diego and St. Louis are kind of the 2 outliers here. I can't believe I'm going this far down in the schedule with how good it looks. 3 at Miami.
17-21, second to last in the East.
And then at Toronto?
Toronto is currently 16-21. They're second to last in the East.
That takes
and that's all the way to when?
The end of June.
It's pretty good.
I'm playing the Creed music.
That's
feeling
amazing.
like 23.
That is incredible.
So if they come out of that stretch 500, then it's time to pack it in.
Yes.
Because then you're getting up to didn't we hit a similar stretch going into the deadline last year where they had just a run of bad teams and it's like if you don't play better here, then you're not worth investing in. I think they ran into something similar last year, and they were just very average. And so this will tell us a lot about them, maybe more so than some of the games they played against good teams, because if you don't come out of this with a positive record, then you feel like, okay, this might not be the team.
877-881-1053. I don't think we've ever gone, in my 15 years here, through a schedule for that amount of time with it looking as good. Definitely not with the Rangers to look at a stretch that has a ton of opportunity.
So is the back half of it just brutal, too? I can't even remember who they're playing. I'm sure the back half is just disgustingly difficult then.
I'm not going to go back in. We got to get to this audio.
Not really. I don't know how that happens, but no, not really.
All right, Sandler Dawson 2.0.
Yeah, this is, as we recall, how long ago was this? Was this a year and a half ago that they first mixed it up? 2 years ago?
Feels like longer than a year and a half.
So it was the Jack Leiter fight a couple years ago where they were mixing it up in a post-game show, one of these post-game shows. So Sandler does the post-game show, and then G-Bag rolls into the show, and then he does like a hit with them right out of their first segment. So they did that hit, and it got a little tense over Jack Leiter, and that's where we got the great drop, "Screw you, Jared, goodbye," from Gavin Dawson, because Dawson felt like, you're talking down to me a little bit here.
Screw you, Jared, goodbye.
And Sandler's whole point the whole time was like, you're putting expectations on Jack Leiter that were never there. And Dawson was trying to say he was the second overall pick. You can't tell me that you were expecting him to be a number 4 starter.
Right.
That's not true. So they mixed up. They made up, but it was great content. We enjoyed it.
Took a while.
They got into it a little bit yesterday. This is not as bad as the Leiter fight, but the remnants of the Leiter fight, I think, are here. And it's a tension. There's a tension in the air that I think exists. And I think you'll hear the moment that it kind of shifts a little bit. But this is them getting into it yesterday over a young pitcher, MacKenzie Gore.
So what's going down with MacKenzie Gore? You think ERA creeps over 5? Was it the right decision to trade for him?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to base a decision. I think we get in trouble in the sport if you base a decision off of a month and a half. I don't really think the Rangers gave up a whole lot. It's a lot of quantity. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, time will tell with that. But to get an all-star pitcher when you were strapped financially with resources and, budgetary constraints, to get an all-star pitcher to make your team better, I think, that's a deal you got to make. Today you go to the 6th inning, on him for walking the 2 lefties. If Alejandro Osuna catches that first fly ball, then maybe we're having a totally different conversation, right? So, I think he bailed his guys out a few times today. Unfortunately, that 6th inning kind of unraveled, and when Jalen Beeks came in, some runs that were on the board or on the table when MacKenzie Gore left came in. But for a guy who's your 3rd or 4th best starter, I feel pretty good that as the year goes on, you're going to get better results from him. To answer, is it a mistake? I mean, it's kind of like hot takey. Like, is it a mistake to trade for? I don't really like it. You got an all-star left-handed pitcher to add to your rotation. I think you have to ask, what did we give up? What else is on the table? Gavin, as well as I do, we only know the deals that are made. We don't know the deals that weren't made. So I think to really be able to answer that question, I would need to know, was there someone else on the table? Could they have traded those guys or a package similar to another team for a different guy who maybe would have been better? It's tough to answer that because I just don't know. But
yeah, and I don't know how he made an all-star team with this stuff. All right, it's interesting.
Okay.
It shifts on Dawson's face. You can see it on the fan cam when he's just listening to Jared's answer. When Jared says it's a little bit hot takey, then you see Dawson go, "Oh, okay."
Yep. That was Jared. Jared gave, I think, like a 2-minute answer, and he didn't need to go 2:01. That lights things a little bit, because I think you're in a way accusing Dawson of being first takey, and I could see how that would get under his skin.
Especially
so early on, 1-0 Gavin.
Which especially because of the history there over the Leiter fight. And so I think
there's nothing wrong. I didn't have any problem with Dawson's initial question. And the first 3 quarters of Jared's response, totally good, totally fine, explaining it all. And then he circled back to seemingly get in a little jab in the side.
Was it do you think he recognized it and was trying to smooth it over by then going as well as I do, Gavin, about, the trade market? But was he trying to be like, look, we both know these things the same way?
Yeah, yeah. So you're saying on the fan cam that lit the fuse.
You saw Dawson all of a sudden go, oh, okay. And then he was sitting there waiting all right, let's wait for my chance now.
Let's hear the rest.
Yeah, and I don't know how he made an all-star team with this stuff. It's interesting he was an all-star.
I don't know
if you measured.
That's really not the issue.
Okay.
If you he can't hit the strike zone. I mean, you get a guy and a half on base.
I don't know if you heard him say it under there. I think that's what took it up again for Dawson was he said, "I don't know if you're watching." That's what Sandler said to him.
It's interesting he was an all-star.
And I don't know
if you measure,
stuff's really not the issue.
If you
it's the
he can't hit the strike zone. I mean, you getting a guy and a half on base every inning.
Stuff, though. Yeah, but that's not stuff. That's execution pitches. He's got the stuff.
Okay, so we're getting semantical on it to defend him then.
No, you just said he doesn't have good stuff. The stuff's not an issue with MacKenzie Gore. That's why he was the top prospect in baseball. It's the inability to consistently control and command pitches that's an issue. I'm not disagreeing with you. I just wouldn't say, if you want to be accurate, I wouldn't say the stuff is a problem. He has the stuff. It's now being able to execute it.
But isn't stuff like being able to throw strikes?
That's command and control.
Okay. So it's semantical then.
Not really. They're two different things. It's like saying a guy's, can't hit for power. He can only hit for average when he hits a lot of home runs and hits, I mean, there are important distinctions. Like I don't know if you're trying to start something or not, but it's just the reality. They're important distinctions. They're two different things. It would not be accurate for me, someone who's watching the game, to say that MacKenzie Gore doesn't have good stuff. That's not the truth. He has not done a good job executing it.
No, it's my bad. I think, I just didn't know how precise that definition of stuff was.
Stop. Was that sincere?
Well,
was that last part sincere?
I don't think so. But it definitely was. The only thing that's sincere next is what happens right after that, which you'll hear because we're almost there. But you'll hear Dawson's ready to wrap it.
No, it's my bad. I think, I just didn't know how precise that definition of stuff was.
All good, man.
All right, there he goes, Jared Sandler. Thank you so much for the report. Rangers fall to the Yankees 9-2. We're coming back with Krusty's Corner here in the Nation.
All right, I'll get. And you see him just take him off. But this is it.
Oh, he gave the wave off to Lucius?
Okay, take him off. And so it was. Dawson later said, he's like, I texted Jared. And he said, Jared, last time we had our fight about Leiter, he showed it to Jack Leiter. And he's like, Leiter started pitching better. So he's like, I did text Jared. I said, why don't you show MacKenzie Gore that?
And my shinks did not work on Gore. All right, so a lot of things in there. 877-881-1053. We need you to be Mills Lane and decide on the Franklin and Franco fan text, and assistant referee Peyton Russell will tally the votes. Where are you going with it first? Because we have the hot take thing that I think we're in agreement started it.
Yep.
That's a point deduction for Sandler. Mm-hmm. Then Dawson gets riled up, and then the argument over stuff and command. That's a good one.
Yeah. So here's because if you're just deducting points, I would say that this is a lot like when me and my wife disagree on something. Okay. I am right when we disagree. But frequently she has said, and I'm sure you've gotten a similar line like this before in your relationships. It's a tale as old as time, like between the way men and women discuss things, which is Kristen will say, you can be right and not have to be rude about it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Jared went in there trying to be rude or anything, but I think when he said that, it lit the spark. And then when he threw on top of that, I don't know if you're watching, and he said it twice.
Yeah.
Now, by the end, the command versus stuff, he's right about that. Command and control is different than stuff. Like we've talked before about, there are lots of guys who can't throw strikes who we've said, man, the stuff is really good. If he could control it, it'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So I think he's right about that. But the person at fault for the fight starting, I think, is Jared.
Jared's problem.
And I love you, Jared. I'm just saying.
Jared's. Which phone is going to ring?
I know. I've already picked up my phone to look.
Which phone is going to ring in the commercial break? I think Jared's problem sometimes that happens with him, he knows so much about baseball, and he knows a lot about baseball. He's not going to brag about knowing a lot about baseball, but it can come across that he thinks he knows a lot about baseball. I think sometimes with the delivery, I mean, years ago it would be much, much worse, but it may come across with some sprinkles of being condescending sometimes.
It is to be fair, it is my biggest problem too when I talk about the Cowboys. Is that if I know things behind the scenes about the way they're operating and I want to talk to people about things, I know things.
Yeah.
And it's tough for me
So the first, I'll tell this while Choppy's
It's
out.
tough for me to talk on knowing that they don't know those things.
Right.
And so, but it comes across super condescending naturally at times.
Yeah.
And it's something that I got to work on. And the way that I deliver that of like, hey, gentle correction instead of just being like, that's dumb.
Right. Exactly. That's a good comparison. I'll tell this story while Choppy's out. And it may have been the biggest verbal beating and assault I've ever witnessed here at the station. Have I ever told you about this?
I haven't heard specifics, but I know.
We're in Surprise. And this is when, like,
There was a disturbance in the force.
I kind of had Choppy and Sandler. Like, Choppy to me is baseball guy, and he's all obsessed, and he's, texting pictures and all these relationships. And something came up over, like, the second best player in the sport, or, like, I think we were ranking the players or something. I think it was over Mookie Betts. And Choppy, like, challenged Jared on Mookie Betts. And for about, like, it felt like 10 straight minutes, Jared, like, systematically took RJ apart to where I was sitting in this apartment. And I was just like, I was starting to feel bad for Choppy. And that takes a lot. But I was like, damn, Jared knows a lot. I mean, he's hitting with all these stupid stats that I still can't recite today, and this number and that, and then he's it was like watching Mayweather. Just it wasn't one big blow, it wasn't one big haymaker. It was just
bing, 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 bing. Couldn't touch him.
That forever changed my mind about like Jared's baseball knowledge. Like when I want to pick a fight or go at Jared over something, it's very, 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 very rare. When it comes to baseball, like the lighter thing, I would argue with him like for what the expectation was and what Jack would end up being. Would that be a very, very rare thing? But what he did to Choppy in Surprise, Arizona, I'll never forget that. That may have been the biggest verbal bashing I've witnessed here at the Fan. Off air.
I will always. Jared is incredibly knowledgeable about baseball, like a ridiculous extent.
Like I'll go at you about
computer.
Football before I would go to at Jared about baseball.
If I disagree with Jared on something, I will disagree with Jared in the form of a text message question. Hey, so is it not this way? And then I wait for him to explain it. And then if the explanation makes sense, then I go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And if the explanation doesn't make sense, then I really go, oh, okay, because that means I don't know it at all. And I'm not going to argue with him about it.
Yeah, I only talk to Jared in the form of questions about baseball. When we're on the phone, I just am interviewing him. That's it. I'm not challenging. I'm not saying that's stupid. Even with Broadus, I'm like, no, get that out of here. I'm not disagreeing with Broadus' opinion, but if it's a Cowboy topic, I feel like I'll challenge Broadus about the Cowboys before I would challenge Jared about baseball. And I can't talk scheme with Broadus.
I really like baseball. I've grown up a Rangers fan. I've had season tickets a few different times. Like it's one of the sports that I grew up in love with. The very first time I cried about sports was when Juan Gonzalez got traded to the Detroit Tigers. So like I love the Rangers. I love the game. I recognize when talking to Jared, when talking to Bassick, when talking to anybody who does it, it's like there is such a deeper level, just like there's a deeper level on football and just like there's a deeper level on basketball that other people understand. There's such a deeper level that's like, I don't have that knowledge and you do.
Bassick's punk ass yesterday during the game, it was Judge. I can't remember who we had facing Judge, but he ended up striking him out. But Bassick goes, all right, it took 2 pitches for Judge to figure out this Ranger in Arlington last week. And then, boom, there were the adjustments and all, and he's looking change up. It was our pitcher who was, I can't remember which reliever. It wasn't Beeks. But I was like, dang. Like hearing Mike, and even to a large extent hearing Bassick talk about basketball. Like, a lot of times, like yesterday, I slipped up when I was going through Kyrie scenarios, and I was like, all right, if the Mavs get lucky and get the 5th pick or the 4th pick, and Mike would have corrected him and been like, well, technically, they can't get 5, 6, 7. All right, they can't get 5, 6, 7 in the draft. They can only be 1 through 4, and then the end of the lottery. Mike can do that with basketball. Peyton Russell, how are the Tolos deciding Sandler versus Dawson Part 2?
It is not all one-sided. I think it leans slightly Jared here, but you do have a lot of people saying, well, Jared's a homer, Sandler's a homer here. 940, Dawson isn't watching these games. 817, Gavin is wrong here. I'll die on that hill. 321 is against Sandler. 214, Gavin wins this one. So it's back and forth here, but I think it leans more Jared here.
I think it leans more toward, because I was looking there, I think it leans a little more towards Jared lost. Or just
that's the way I would vote too.
On tactics, Jared lost.
On tactics,
like it was that way. I would say it's leaning about.
He took the first
55% of people. I would say it's about 55% are saying Jared's more wrong than Dawson. Jared's right about the point.
Yeah,
but
the cheap shot.
It was a cheap shot. If I asked the same question, and Jared was on the air with us, and Jared had said it's a little hot takey, I wouldn't have given him the extra 40 seconds to finish after that. I would have interrupted him.
Right.
And I would have been like, wait, no, hold on, wait, why? Why is that? I would have been offended by it.
Yeah.
And if he would have then said, I don't know if you're watching, I would have stopped him again. And I would have said, hold on.
He kind of he bit Dawson's ear in the fight. You know, he went over the line the most, and that's what I remember from this fight the most.
And I'll be honest, this is 100% true. I don't think it's malice. I don't think he was like, ooh, let me just get in this dig on Dawson. I think it's like we're talking about. He knows it so well that when you're talking to somebody else, like, you got to forget, like, not everybody like knows the depth as much as you. That's why you're there as the interview expert to explain it, not to.
Would Dawson have followed up with how did this guy make an all-star game that aggressively, if not for the hot take comment?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think he would have just listened to the answer, and then I think it would have been Zach or Eric asking the next question.
So I'll score like 10-8, Gavin.
Yeah, because again, on the actual point at the end of the command versus control versus stuff, Jared's right.
He made up some ground.
Yeah, and to be fair, Dawson didn't go. Dawson listened to it, gave little pushback, and then at the end, whether it's sarcastic or not,
it was sarcastic. He didn't give in to that.
He did ultimately just go though. Didn't know it was that precise. Okay. Like, I mean, he
yeah, did. But no, don't give him credit for that.
I'm saying
he was being condescending.
But I'm saying he didn't spit like he didn't. He just recognized like
he was done with the interview.
That's what I'm saying. He recognized this isn't going anywhere, so we're just cutting it off anyway. And the layout from Jared was a little odd there. Of the 6 seconds, I don't know if he thought that there was something coming behind it or what.
There was a couple of times he tried to like speak, and then Dawson was not going to let it happen. So, all right, that was good. Thanks to all the Tolos for informing us. Peyton and Bobby pulling the audio of round 2, and the AI video is pretty good too. Jared's cut up. He ain't getting that early dad bod.
No, they were talking about that yesterday. Gavin was like, "Man, I got a dad bod in this video," but I did ask AI. I was like, "Just finish the fight." Because I was like, surprise me with who the winner is. And they had Dawson knocking Jared out.
Oh, gosh. 2 victories for Dawson.